take this opportunity to perhaps acknowledge the Deputy Minister in her presence now, Deputy Minister Pinky Kekana, acknowledge the MEC for Finance, MEC Mama Bolo. Those who are from Limpopo will understand that Kengwana di Kolobeng. I acknowledge you, MEC. I can't translate it into English, it don't look good. He's a child from the pigs. Also acknowledge Nick, the founder of the Future Leaders Forum, distinguished guests. I'm honored, of course, to share the space with you today. I must say it's hard to talk about leadership when you yourself or myself are regarded as a leader in other quarters. So it's like talking about yourself in the presence of so many people. But in order to manage myself and my internal thoughts, maybe let us start at the country's definition of what makes a good leader. The National Development Plan, our Vision 2030. Of course, I must say we're 7 years to 2030, and hopefully all our ideas will become reality as defined in the National Development Plan. And it therefore defines leadership as the following. 1, active citizenship requires inspirational leadership at all levels of society, and leadership does not refer to one person or even a tight collective of people. It applies in every aspect of life. In particular, community leaders and public figures should demonstrate leadership qualities that includes the ability to lead, and to lead by example and to follow rules that apply to everyone, as well as honesty, integrity, and trustworthiness. Leadership includes the capacity to innovate, manage change, build enough support to drive an essential and not necessarily populist agendas, but however communicate with people and keep them interested and informed. The good leaders have the ability to listen, especially to those with different opinions, perspectives, or priorities. Leaders should be able to create conditions that allow everyone to communicate in open dialogue. This requires tolerance, patience, openness to giving and receiving criticism, and a willingness to admit mistakes, and ability to re-examine one's own pre-assumptions. I was deliberate to refer to populist agendas, that leaders that are populist tend to polarize society, and thus creating a society of people who have interests that will not help us to address real issues in society. Leaders must make the constitutional mandate of public participation more real, especially referring to leaders in the public sector or in the state. They must create a shared understanding by building processes that allow for stakeholders to participate in decision making. They need the ability to promote meaningful processes that allow stakeholders to participate in decisions. They need the ability to promote meaningful inclusion, helping to overcome barriers associated with class, ethnicity, gender, disability, and other factors of exclusion. Leaders must seek to empower the otherwise powerless, building bridges to other sectors of society, including business, civil society, and faith-based organizations, as well as to all levels of government. Program Director, sitting and listening to the discussion today, it gives me a sense that the Future Leadership Forum is trying to draw us back to the National Development Plan and remind us this is what we collectively said as society, and therefore we must live these leadership principles every day of our lives. MMC Mama Bulo, I thought it's important also to talk to local government, and that local government is indeed a complex space. Our challenges are complex and require multiple solutions that must change the living conditions of our people. The space where on a daily basis we experience systematic, structural, and governance challenges. If you do not have the ability to understand this complex or complexity, you will fail as a leader in the local space. So we have, as local government leaders, to understand the complexity of the space in which we operate. Program Director Cllr, our beautiful Cllr, accepting the invitation here today meant the responsibility to inspire and create hope. And perhaps let's thank the National Rugby team. We are all happy today, inspired and living in hope. Therefore, our hearts are not so heavy this week as a result of the victory which we scored over the weekend. However, maybe next week the situation may change. And let me start at the point of being elected as a public rep in the city of Johannesburg, so that I can demonstrate why it is important as a leader to firstly, one, listen to the people of Johannesburg, improve the quality of life, and ensure that development-driven resilience for all takes place. Build a sustainable city which protects its resources for future generations, and a city that is built to last and offers healthy, clean, and safe environment. Create an inclusive, job-intensive, resilient, and competitive economy that harnesses the potential of its citizens. Recreate a high-performing metropolitan government that proactively contributes to and builds a sustainable, socially inclusive, locally integrated, and globally competitive Gauteng city region. Therefore, good governance requires an efficient administration, but also respect for the rule of law, accountability, accessibility, transparency, predictability, inclusivity, equity, and participation. All of these are important because we're in the business of making or building what we term in the city of Johannesburg a world-class African city. Of course, there are questions in relation to the current challenges that the city of Johannesburg is faced with, whether it's infrastructure decay, whether it's the high levels of crime, and all other challenges facing the city. But we have taken responsibility as the leadership of this city to confront all these challenges head on. And in doing so, we have ensured that we budget in as far as infrastructure is concerned and committed ourselves to 100 billion infrastructure development or infrastructure investment with a clear intention to deal with the infrastructure refurbishment of Johannesburg. Our infrastructure is too old, and indeed, it requires refurbishment. Perhaps it is not about the leadership position you occupy or I occupy, but it is about having the drive to serve society, to make sure that their today is better than yesterday, and their tomorrow will be better than today. Ladies and gentlemen, Joburg cannot continue to function in darkness when we have the expertise and experiences of resolving these problems. We have done it before and we will do it again. In 2008, as a result of the global economic meltdown, Johannesburg experienced serious financial challenges, and we were all convinced at that time that the great city of gold is going to collapse. But with all our expertise at that time, of course with the contribution of the private sector, we were all able to save Johannesburg from collapse. And in 2 years later, 2010, we hosted a successful World Cup in the city of Johannesburg. We have an energy sustainability strategy that will ensure that we'll deliver on conventional power and integrate new distributed energy generation. We also have the capacity as part of our strategy to deal with energy storage, and part of our commitment is to build energy storage facilities that will ensure and protect us from energy losses. With this innovative approach, the city will utilize new alternative energy sources together with energy storage systems to reduce what we now know in South Africa as load shedding throughout the city of Johannesburg. We do have the capacity to do so. In 2014, Johannesburg was the first city to introduce load limiting, and through load limiting, we're able to save from the grid and ensure that we keep the lights on in the city of Johannesburg. And this should be good news for the business and residents of Johannesburg, as we are committed to ensure that we'll be able to keep the lights on. Furthermore, it is important also to share with you, especially the private sector, that municipalities across the country are the most basic units of development service delivery by government. Developmental service delivery entails an understanding that municipalities are assigned the role to mobilize economic resources for service delivery towards the improvement of lives of all our people and citizens. Developmental service delivery views the delivery of basic services as a fundamental building blocks of improved quality of life to foster human dignity, well-being, and improved livelihoods. So the people of Johannesburg are the source of our strength and our future. We have to keep the city clean. We do know the challenges that we are faced with, especially in the inner city of Johannesburg. The wellness of the people of Johannesburg depends on us as government of the city. In keeping the city clean, we must continue to protect the environment by implementing programs that are focused on the following: litter picking, clearing illegal dumping, grass cutting, recycling programs, pollution prevention in relation to air, water, and land. As the MMC responsible for finances, I cannot leave this podium without reminding you to pay your municipal bills. I make this call and ask you once more that choose the City of Johannesburg bill over DSTV. The return on investment is far greater than you think. It guarantees you the ability to wake up, turn on the lights, turn on your tap, drink water, take a shower, eat breakfast, drive on safe roads, give back to the disadvantaged, and enjoy the good quality of life you deserve. As I conclude, having listened to the conversations today, I am convinced that the partnership between the the private sector and the public sector would go a long way in helping us to transform our country, build our economy, and ensure that South Africa becomes the best in the world and can therefore compete with its peers in the world. We also make an argument as the city of Johannesburg that Gauteng should influence the economic direction of Southern Africa. Our Premier has announced a fast train from Johannesburg to Limpopo. We are also calling on the Premier to extend the train to Harare, Bulawayo, and Lusaka, right up to Dar es Salaam, so that South Africa can be at the center of the economy of the continent, because that train, over and above movement of people, it shall also move goods and services. Program Director, let me conclude by saying the future of this planet depends on our ability to effectively manage our cities. It depends on our ability to take full responsibility of managing our local spaces and protecting our environment. No one lives in a provincial or national space. The heartbeat of the nation is felt at local spaces. As our minister, the Minister of Cllr, Tembisile Nkadimeng, continues to preach and says the heartbeat of the nation is felt in local spaces, and therefore let's make local government everyone's business. And thank you very much.
TM Global Media, going beyond borders.